Dr. Ja'ja, thank you so much for joining me.
You're welcome.
I want to ask you just to give me a sense of where we are today in your mind.
Frankly, this is a bit difficult and complicated. Why? Because we're working on two dimensions, not only one dimension. First of all, we have an internal problem in Lebanon, which is Hezbollah. This is a statelet beside the state. For the last 40 years, he was the one who was calling the shots. And then we have the state. And here we are in the midst of a huge problem, and the state is going to discuss with Washington, okay, and maybe with the Prime Minister of Israel, but the state is not calling the shots.
Hezbollah is calling the shots.
Yes, unfortunately.
And what happens then if Hezbollah is calling the shots and the government has no authority over them?
The government is trying to do whatever it could, it can. And as a matter of fact, the government has issued many decrees to the end of disbanding Hezbollah.
And failed.
Not the government failed, Hezbollah failed to respond to the government's decrees. Suppose tomorrow the president of Lebanon is going to Washington. And so he enters the Oval Office, and the White Office, and he sees Mr. Trump, and he salutes him, and then we have all the credibility of Lebanon as a state in there, okay? But what if President Trump discussed anything with President Aoun, and President Aoun was positive, and then he'll have to come back to Lebanon, and then?
And then what?
I don't know. Frankly, I don't know. But we have a huge problem.
Is the government getting ahead of its skis in trying to have this conversation, since they can't control Hezbollah?
At the end of the day, the government has to control Hezbollah. We can turn as much as we can around the problem. But one day or another, we have to face the problem. And as a matter of fact, Hezbollah is not the problem of America, neither of Israel, nor of the Gulf states, none of Europe. This is our problem for the last 40 years. We didn't succeed to have a real state, a normal state, like any other state in the world. So, because of Hezbollah. So, because some would say, you would comply under the imperatives of Israel and disband Hezbollah. No, the disbanding of Hezbollah is, in the first place, it is in the interest of the Lebanese. Because look, are we in a normal situation? Not only now, and last year, and the year before, and the year before, and 5 years before. I'll tell you something. In the 60s and the early 70s, and I remember this very, very well, Lebanon was called the Switzerland of the Middle East. What is this Switzerland? Did the Lebanese people change? No, not at all, not 1 inch. Did they get less intelligent? Not at all. They got more. They got more culture, far more than in the 60s and 70s. What is the problem? The problem is that we don't have a real state. Why we don't have a real state? Because you have a statelet, a cancer on your side.
Tell me this, President Trump has repeatedly asked that Lebanon disarm Hezbollah, take the weapons, but this is a government that's failed to do that. Was that an unrealistic request?
In my view of things, no. But you have been living in a certain situation for the last 40 years. Of course, you know the Stockholm syndrome.
And this is something that the Prime Minister and the President suffer from?
No. As a matter of fact, the President and the Prime Minister, they took the necessary decisions.
But then failed to enforce it.
But then what we call the deep state. So many people in Lebanon are still struck by Stockholm syndrome. But the government took the necessary decrees and decisions. It took it.
Talking about the deep state, when we talk about the deep state, are we talking about the head of the Lebanese armed forces?
Well, I'm talking not specifically about the head of the Lebanese armed forces, about all the security apparatus, all the security services, internal security services, and the army, and even some, if not many, of the judiciary. Because at the end of the day, you need a judiciary to head on, يعني to advance, to be able to interpret things as they should be.
To enforce those decisions.
To enforce the decision, to enforce even the military or service steps.
Yeah.
And so you have all of this. This is the deep state.
Yes.
Here, you have Stockholm Syndrome. How to get over it? We need to get over it. Otherwise, I don't see any other solution.
Yeah.
As I told you, tomorrow the president of Lebanon gets into the White House. Okay, he is discussing with President Trump. And then it is clear what America wants. It's clear what the Gulf states want. It's clear what Europe wants, what the whole world wants. It is clear what the majority of the Lebanese population wants.
Yes.
And then this is a problem we have to face.
So how do you get these people out, these people with Stockholm Syndrome? How do you push them out of the Lebanese armed forces, out of the judiciary, out of government? How do you cleanse
I
it?
think we need some changes.
Now, can that be done from the top down?
Maybe from the down top or top down, never mind.
Is that at the ballot box, or is that coming from on high? Is that the president and the prime minister who have to get these people out?
No, the president, the prime minister, look at the president's speech yesterday. It was very clear, the president's speech.
Tell me this. Do you believe that the Lebanese people today are confident in their government and in the ability of the government to advocate for them?
Frankly, they are confident with the government and the meaning. Maybe in the last tens of years, this is the best government they had, and they sense it.
Yeah.
But they are not confident in interpreting the decisions of the government. And they see that the decisions and decrees of the government, they are in the right direction, but they don't see any real interpretation of it.
So it sounds as if this is a government that needs people to execute.
Yes.
So it has the great ideas, but it doesn't have anyone to execute them.
It doesn't have an executive, not bodies.
Yeah, yeah.
Not all the state, not all the administration is following the state.
Yes.
The state is on one side, and the remaining of the administration is on another side.
So when you look at Hezbollah today, have they been degraded?
Yeah, of course, they have been. Of course, but nevertheless. No.
Then why is the Iranian ambassador still in his embassy?
Because nobody went in there and told him, Mr. Ambassador,
Get
you have
out.
to leave. You have to leave.
Yeah. Why is that?
Stockholm Syndrome.
Still.
Still. Yes, as much. The government took the decision, okay? And there was a clear decision. But from there on, do you wait, or do you think that the prime minister or the president of the republic or the foreign minister will go by themselves in there and tell the ambassador to go? No.
What, are they afraid?
No, by themselves they shouldn't. This is not their work. This is not their job.
Isn't it?
The
though?
administration should follow them. And the administration didn't follow them.
Tell me this. When you think about this meeting between the president and the Israeli prime minister in Washington, for the Israelis, taking a bet on Lebanon for them is a national security issue. In your mind, what does this government need to do to assure them that they will be safe?
First of all, let me adjust one thing. These negotiations were not preconceived on the Lebanese side at no one time. These are the negotiations of necessity. And Hezbollah is responsible for pushing the Lebanese government to negotiate. Negotiations, let be. Okay, we have to do whatever in order to save our country, and we don't have any other way. And if anyone has any other way, let him tell us.
Yeah.
And we are fed up with, poetry. Okay, let him tell us. So they are not preconceived. The president and the prime minister, they are doing them by necessity.
Yes.
In order to what? In order to get out of this rubbish we are in.
Yes.
Out of this mud we are in. Otherwise, what can we do? What should we do?
Do you believe that there's a successful conclusion possible between Israel and Lebanon? Are we going to see a situation where, like in the UAE, for example, we have Israelis vacationing in Lebanon and Lebanese vacationing in Israel? I mean, is that, in your mind, something that's possible?
I don't know. I leave that to the future. But for the time being, yes, we need the president of Lebanon to talk with the Israelis in order to try to finish up with this situation.
What leverage does he have?
Not a ceasefire. We are fed up with ceasefires or with armistices. We need an end of the war state.
Yeah.
Let me tell you something. Lebanon is not a state of confrontation. I don't know if at any one time you read about the classification the Arab League did in the 60s. In the 60s, after the eruption of the Israeli-Palestinian problem, the Arab League, classified the Arab countries as countries of confrontation, which were Egypt, for instance, which were Iraq and the big Syria, and the other countries which were called the countries of support. Lebanon was among the countries of support.
Yes.
And this is our reality. And if you want to go into a military confrontation with Israel, you need a big army, which means at least $20 billion per year for the coming 10, 20 years. All our GDP for the time being is 25 billion. So this is a joke.
Yes.
So we are a country of support. We are a country, that believes in the Palestinian cause, and full stop. We should not go into war again.
Yes.
Because war is detrimental for us.
And when you say that, do you also mean internally? Do you foresee that we're going to have sectarian violence in this country? Christians against Muslims, Muslims against Muslims.
I don't see it, frankly.
Really? Because I've heard this echoed in Washington.
Except in one case, if the state administration, falters down completely, like in 1975.
Yeah.
You look, you don't see neither an army guard nor an internal security force people, nobody. Except this case, as matter as the state is as it is, even not even stronger. No, I don't fear any internal strife.
What leverage does Lebanon have in these negotiations?
What leverage does Lebanon have? Its position as Lebanon. Everybody, I feel that many people, especially in the region, they like Lebanon for what Lebanon is. The French people, they like Lebanon beyond the politics. The Americans, they are far from Lebanon, but also they see Lebanon as a buffer zone and a good example. I tell you something also, irrespective of everything, Lebanon stayed democratic and really democratic all over. It stayed democratic. For instance, the last elections, they were real elections. Hezbollah in its height, he couldn't interfere in the election except in his areas. So Lebanon is liked. And what leverage has Lebanon is to return a normal state. Everybody wants Lebanon to return a normal state. This has Lebanon. The second thing which it has is to secure its borders. Now, this is very crucial. Our only problem for the last 30, 40, 50 years was that we didn't secure our borders. We have to secure our borders, either with Israel or with even Syria. We have a new Syria now, but we have to secure our borders, not to leave armed Hezbollah on the borders of Syria, soliciting the Syrian regime every now and then. No, this is unacceptable.
Tell me, the south of Lebanon, the Israelis have left it open-ended. If they feel threatened or that they're attacked, they're going to go ahead and attack, whether there's a ceasefire or no. Is that fair?
No, this is not true. Take the period between 1949, the armistice between Lebanon and Israel, 1949, and 1964, not 69, 64, because what was called at the time Palestinian resistance started in 1964. And tell me, how many accidents there were on the frontiers and the south? Very few, and very few related mainly to small Palestinian camps in the south, not to the Lebanese inhabitants of the south, and mainly to some Lebanese who were coordinating or who were helping some Palestinian guerrillas. Otherwise, for Lebanese reasons, I didn't see.
Okay.
So take this segment of history. 1949, 1964, it was, relatively speaking, in the Middle East, very calm. And the inhabitants of the South could enjoy their lives as they could.
In your mind, though, is that something that's going to be possible? And I say this in the sense that you believe the Israelis will respect the Lebanese border, or are we going to continue to see problems in the South?
If I have to take lessons from history, if we control our borders as we should, the Israelis couldn't even, but I don't see any. They want what from Lebanon? They want additional land from Lebanon. Let them, first of all, settle their problems with the Western Bank and West Bank and with the Gaza before. But this is out of any historical logic.
We heard from Walid Jumblat in the last few days essentially saying that the meeting between the Prime Minister of Israel and the President of Lebanon should be deferred until after the agreements are made, that you shouldn't meet before you've made your agreement. In your mind, are they meeting too soon?
No, I don't see it this way. This will lead to nowhere. We'll be stuck in this situation for maybe decades.
Yeah, so it's crucial they meet now.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Otherwise, no.
Yeah.
We are not in the 80s, in 1980s, where you had Assad in Syria, you had Khomeini victorious in Iran, where you had another political setup.
Yeah.
No.
Tell me this. Do you consider Mr. Netanyahu a fair broker, someone you can do a deal with?
I consider America is an acceptable broker.
Acceptable?
Yes.
But not fair?
Well, between Israel and anybody else, I don't know how much the Americans could be fair. In Lebanon, they have been many times. So why to hypothesize in this matter? Let's just wait and see. Okay. Let us try at least. You have something to try. And in opposition, you don't have anything to try, except continuing forever.
Tell me this.
Ad vitam aeternum, like this, we are not ready.
Tell me this. What is the best case scenario coming out of these conversations?
Best case scenario. I think if the government, one way or another, manages to call the shots inside Lebanon, I think we have a good chance of normalizing, not normalizing, of pacifying our southern borders and controlling our eastern borders, and hence starting a real state in Lebanon. This is our future, in a real state in Lebanon. But as much as you have out-of-state military and security players, don't think about it.
Yeah. Tell me this, in your mind, does the United States have to win the war with Iran in order to get Hezbollah out of Lebanon?
This makes it very easy for us. Makes it easier for us, of course. And in this respect, I think the United States cannot lose against Iran.
Are they losing now?
No, not yet.
No, even with the strait closed?
Yes, this is, this is a detail of the whole picture. You have to wait and to see the end of
It's a big detail.
Uh-huh.
It's a big detail.
Big detail, but you have to wait until to see the end of the war. We are still in the midst of the war.
You don't think the United States is being seen as weakened?
No. I don't see it this way, no.
Tell me this, the Lebanese armed forces.
Yes.
This is a president who has threatened more than once to defund the LAF. Lindsey Graham has called for Heikel to be fired. In your mind, we talked about this Stockholm syndrome. Does the leadership of the LAF need to be cleansed?
Let me put the discussion about the LAF aside.
Why?
This is an internal
Can
discussion.
you?
This is, yes, internal and a critical and sensitive discussion, of course. I can discuss it with the President of the Republic. I can discuss it with the Commander-in-Chief of the Army, but not beyond that, frankly. But as I told you, the deep state as a whole is not in a working shape.
Yeah.
It's not a good shape.
If
And the proof of it is that the government has did what it should, and we are still in the same,
Yes.
at the same point.
Yes. If the United States were to defund the Lebanese armed forces, would that be a disaster?
A very big difficulty, maybe not a disaster, but I don't think we should, and the Lebanese government should not let things reach this point. No, we should adjust the situation before we reach this point. And we have enough problems. Look now, everybody is discussing the military and security aspects of the crisis, but don't forget the economic aspect of it.
Yeah.
Huge, 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 huge. And nearly we were getting out of our last, nearly, we didn't yet get, we were starting to get out of it, and here we are again. Nearly with $10 billion still now, direct and indirect losses from the war. So, Lebanon cannot support anymore. This is why I am with President Aoun to go and negotiate, okay, and to find a way in order to get the country out of this hell.
Yes.
Yes.
What should the president's demands be?
First of all, yeah, irrespective of our internal problem, which should be solved, otherwise the president cannot demand anything. As simple as that. Let us be realistic. Should demand, okay, a withdrawal of Israeli troops, okay, and a return to our internationally recognized borders with Israel, and as I told you, not a ceasefire, but khalas. To end up any, to Lebanese army, real Lebanese army, to really control the southern borders and at the same time the eastern border. We have to start from here. Otherwise.
Tell me about the Gulf states.
Yes.
Saudi Arabia continues to be involved. The United Arab Emirates less so.
Involved in Lebanon?
In your mind, what should the role of the Gulf states be?
Always they have been supporting Lebanon, always. And if it were not for Saudi Arabia, we couldn't have had presidential elections, the last one, in 2024. And I know it for sure. Nobody told me about it. I knew it for sure. So they are helping. And then they retracted a bit. Why? Because they didn't see that something changed on the ground in reality. And this is why they were skeptical about what's going on. But the first moment they see that the government took decisions and decrees, and these decisions and decrees are being implemented, and it is a problem simply of time, I think they will rush to help Lebanon, because the Gulf states really, they like Lebanon. And independently of politics, geopolitics, strategies, okay, they like Lebanon. And many of them, they have still mansions and houses in Lebanon, they have maybe relatives, of course they have friends, etc. So
they have a vested interest. Tell me this, what about Syria? You have a Syrian government now backed by the United States. There are so many new economic efforts to get Syria back on track. It's been suggested by various American officials, Tom Barrack being one of them, that the Lebanese are missing out. In your mind, how quickly should the Lebanese expect that kind of American support following these negotiations?
As quick as possible. But we should move. On the first hand, there is something that we have a homework to do ourselves. And then comes all the others. And I remember well, in many instances, okay, America, Europe, France, okay, the Gulf states, at many times, they rushed and helped Lebanon. Mm-hmm. And they are ready now, and they said it, and I heard it many times. But Lebanon has to be present.
Yes.
Lebanon has to be Lebanon.
Yeah.
There should be a real state in Lebanon who calls the shots. Not a state they are dealing with, giving her money, and then the money will go somewhere else. Mm.
Would you ever run for president?
Oh, this is very early yet.
Early?
Very early. Yet.
So you're not counting it out?
No, because the president last year was elected.
Yeah. And the elections are coming?
After 5 years.
Hmm. No time at all?
Who knows? Let us first of all adjust the situation in Lebanon. But who knows?
Yeah. Dr. Ja'ja, thank you so much for joining me.
You're welcome.